Hello children, how are you all? Hope you all are fine and doing well. Children, in today's session, we will be discussing a new concept upthrust. Especially, what we will be discussing here, we will discuss what actually upthrust. We'll discuss the definition and the units in detail and how can we measure the upthrust also we'll discuss. Then we'll discuss the reason, means why upthrust is acting, in which case upthrust will act, how much it can act, whether more upthrust will act or less upthrust will act. So these things also we'll discuss. And what factors, means on which factors does the upthrust depend. So that also means if it is depend means how does it depend. And here we'll discuss the expression for the upthrust, means when a volume of the body is given, for example when a body is immersed in a liquid, okay na? So how upthrust can be calculated? By knowing the density of the liquid, by knowing the volume of the immersed body, okay na? By taking those things, we can call the expression for that upthrust. And finally we'll be discussing the Archimedes principle. So what is the Archimedes principle? How can we prove the Archimedes principle mathematically? And what are the applications of Archimedes principle? We will discuss in detail. So first let us discuss what actually upthrust is. Children, before going to that, before going to discuss upthrust, first let us hear a basic concept, basic term which we know very well. What is that? Force. Let us discuss what actually force is. Children, we know that it is an external cause which changes either shape or a dimensions or a position, it will change even rest and a motion. Okay, so it is an external cause which can change the dimensions, position, okay, even shape, volume, all these things. That's fine. But what is thrust? What is thrust? Let us discuss. So generally thrust, immediately whenever we think about thrust, children, so this force will come into our mind. So we think that thrust is a nothing but force only, we will say. But if it is a nothing but the force, then why to discuss separately, and why to keep a name, one as a force, another way it is a thrust. So it might be little bit different. So what is that difference? Let us see, children. For suppose, dear children, let me take one surface here like this. Okay, let us take here is surface. So on this surface a force is acting, let us say force F is acting. First case, let us say this is here a force might be 10 Newton, 20 Newton, what it may be, some amount of force acting on this. Okay. Whereas in the second case, dear children, look at here. So here is like this, a force is acting, a force, let us say 10 Newton, whatever. So this also will be 10 Newton, same magnitude I am taking. Okay, fine. Third case, let us take, here is so a force of 10 Newton, again force of 10 Newton. Okay, and here next case, let us take like this. So here also this surface, and here force is acting of how much? 10 Newton. If you want, you can take the surface like this also, so that it will be acting downwards exactly. So this is how 10 Newton force is acting. Children, if you can notice here in these 5 pictures, if you can notice here, in all the cases same amount of force, that is 10 Newton force is acting. But what makes the difference? Look at here. In first case it is acting with a certain angle. Look at here. Angle. Even with the surface also it is making a certain angle. But if you can see, in these 3 cases this force is acting but perpendicular to the surface. Perpendicular to the surface. Look at here, that is 90 degrees. Perpendicular to the surface. In these 3 cases only. It might be upwards or downwards or a sideways, whatever it may be. So here force acting normal to the surface. But here the force is either this force or this force. They are not acting normal to the surface. They are not acting normal to the surface. So in these 3 cases, what is the force acting only? We can call it as a thrust it is. We can call it as thrust. In these 3 cases, the force acting is thrust only. Which means what, children? The force acting normal to the surface. Very simple. Means if a force is acting perpendicular to the surface of the body, then we can say that that force is a thrust only. Try to understand. Okay. So let us repeat once again. What is the thrust? The force acting normal to the surface is called thrust. So here in these two cases it is not a thrust, it is just force only, we can say that. But in these three cases here we can say that thrust is acting. Why? Because the force is normal to the surface. Okay, fine. Now let us see the units of thrust. It is also very important. Units of thrust. Children, here thrust is a vector quantity. Thrust is a vector quantity and its SI units are Newton and here CGS units are dyne. And here we know that 1 Newton is equal to 10 to the power of 5 dyne. 10 to the power of 5 dyne. So this is the difference between force and thrust. Children, what is thrust? The force acting normal to the surface is called thrust. Fine. Now we will discuss. So first we discussed force. Just it is like a recalling here. Next one is a upthrust. What is a upthrust? What is upthrust? Children, here a water is taken in a small beaker. Let us say it is a liquid and here is an object. Okay. So here, children, now I place this body in this liquid. Now when I try to push this ball inward, okay, now it is immersed, let us say. The moment when I can withdraw my force, what is happening? This ball is again coming back to the surface only. Again I repeat. So look at here. Now I am going to put some external force on it so that it is being immersed. It is being immersed. But the moment when I take out my external force, what is happening here? So here we can feel that as if somebody is like hiding inside and pushing this ball again upwards only. Which means what here? What we have to understand? So as already we learned that. Means when force is acting on a body only, then only there will be change in the position, obviously. There must be some net force on the body. So here as I am applying force, it is going downwards. The moment when I withdraw my force, what is happening? The ball is again coming back. Which means what? It is experiencing some force. It is experiencing some force. So this force only we can call it as a upthrust. Let us discuss here. So here as I have shown you, children, here look at here. Here is a beaker. Here let us say here is a beaker. In that some liquid is taken here. Okay. And here a ball or a body is immersed. So it is not compulsory that it should be immersed completely only. It might be immersed partially or it might be immersed wholly also. Then what is happening? A force is acting perpendicular to its surface like this, vertical upwards. Means so-called thrust is acting on the body. But how? Vertically upwards. This force acting only we can call it as, this thrust acting on this body only we can call it as a upthrust. Then how to define this? Children, so when a body is immersed partially or wholly in a liquid or in a fluid, let us say here, it's not a liquid actually, fluid, it might be air, it might be liquid also. So children, when a body is immersed partially or wholly in a fluid, what is happening? It experiences an upward force. It experiences an upthrust. That upward force only, we can call it a upthrust. That one only we can call it a upthrust. So when a body, just look at here once again, just look at here. So here the moment when I keep my force, it is going. But children, fine, because I applied force, it is going downward direction. Okay, let us say if I leave my force, what is happening? Again it is coming back. It is not staying inside of water. It is not staying inside of water. It is coming vertical upwards. It is coming upward direction only. Why? Because it is experiencing some thrust. That thrust also vertically upwards. So that thrust experienced by this body when it is immersed in a fluid or in a liquid is called upthrust. And children, here upthrust also here a vector quantity. So upthrust is nothing but what? Upthrust is nothing but force only. We know that force is a vector quantity. So here upthrust is a vector quantity. Upthrust is a vector quantity. Its SI units are Newton and here CGS units are dyne. And other than this, even we also can use gravitational units of force. Gravitational units of force. So in SI system, what are the gravitational units of force? kgf, kilogram force, and we also measure in gram force. Children, 1 kgf is equal to 9.8 Newton. But when we are solving the numericals, we will take as a 10 Newton. 1 kgf, 1 kilogram force, we can take it as a 10 Newton approximately. And 1 gram force is equal to, this could be 980 dyne. 980 dyne. So, these are the units. Children, what is upthrust? When a body is immersed partially or wholly in a fluid, it experiences an upward force. Is called upthrust. Now, we will discuss next term, buoyancy. So here, what is a buoyancy, children? Here, of course, upthrust means we discuss. This upthrust, children, is also called as buoyant force. Either it is a buoyant force or upthrust. Both are same only. Means both will come into the picture when a body is placed in a fluid. That's it. Okay, fine. Children, means you can take any object. If it is placed in a fluid, definitely it experiences an upward force. It experiences an upthrust. But children, don't you think don't you get one doubt that where we all are standing in air. Air is a fluid. Then why are we not experiencing upthrust? Are we experiencing upthrust? Yes or no? Yes, we are experiencing some upthrust, but it is a negligible. When we compare with our weight of the body, the upthrust is a very less. It is a negligible. Otherwise, we also, not only we, any object placed in a fluid experiences an upthrust. It is a common. Okay, fine. Now come to the buoyancy. What is a buoyancy, children? It is a property. Children, it is a property of the fluid. To exert upthrust. So why? Because the body is placed in a fluid. So whenever you place an object or any body in a fluid, what will happen? A liquid has some property of pushing the body upwards. That property only we can call it as a buoyancy. So it is a property of the liquid to exert buoyant force or upthrust or force vertically upwards when a body is immersed partially or wholly in it. So whenever it means there will be a reaction. Immediately. See the just beauty of the nature. The moment when you take a body, when you try to immerse in a fluid or a liquid, what happens immediately? That has some property. As you start putting the body inside the liquid or a fluid or a gas, what it may be, then immediately what will happen? That fluid start exerting force vertically upwards. That property only we can call it as a buoyancy. Children, don't get confused between the definitions of buoyant force and a buoyancy. What is a buoyant force? When a body is immersed partially or wholly in a fluid, it experiences an upthrust. It experiences an upward force. Called upthrust or buoyant force. What about buoyancy here? It is a property of the liquid to exert force, to exert upthrust when it is immersed in it. Is called actually buoyancy. Okay, fine. Now children, we will see what happens when a body, of course, just now we have seen what happens when a body is immersed in a fluid. Now we will see, the children, how many forces will act on a body when it is immersed. Look at here, and based on that only we can decide whether a body will sink or float. This is very, very important. Children, look at here. So, here is a beaker in which we have taken a liquid, fine, and here a body is, let us say, some body. A body is placed, okay, whether it is immersed partially or wholly, completely, that leave it here. Children, what are the solid? So, okay, it is nothing but a solid. Here is solid only. So, it has some mass. As it has a mass means definitely it is pulled by the gravity, due to which what will happen, it has some weight also, that is W is equal to mg. W is equal to mg. And children, we know that very well, that the weight of the body always acts vertically downwards. Weight of the body always acts vertically downwards. It's fine. But children, whenever a body is placed in a fluid, the fluid has a property, buoyancy, due to which what will happen, it exerts force vertically upwards. It exerts force vertically upwards, like this, vertically upwards. So, here buoyant force, exert force means here friction due to the fluid we are neglecting, that is called viscous forces, we are neglecting that, okay, fine. Look at here. So, children, so here when a body is placed or immersed in a fluid, that body experiences two forces. What are those? One is weight of the body acting vertically downwards, and here buoyant force vertically upwards. But children, initially when you place a body just in a liquid, it experiences minimum of thrust. As you go on immersing it, I mean the volume of the body, the volume of the immersed body, if it goes on increasing, what happens? The buoyant force also keeps on increasing. The moment when body is immersed in it completely, when a body is completely immersed in it, then what will happen? It has a maximum buoyant force. So, it's very, very, very important. So, here when a body is immersed partially, of course, it is experienced by some buoyant force, let us say Fb. But children, the moment when this body is immersed completely, of course, it also experiences, but its value will be maximum, let us say Fb dash. This is a maximum value. It is a maximum value, children. You just keep on immersing it, at a particular point, it is completely immersed. The moment when it immerses completely, it experiences maximum buoyant force, that we are representing with the Fb dash. So, depends on these two values only, children. Depends on these two values only, we can say whether body will sink or a body will float, all these things. Let us see, children. Case 1 here. Let us take a case 1. What if buoyant force, that is the maximum value of the buoyant force, is greater than that of the W? Greater than that of the W. Then what will happen here? Still look at here. So, here downward force is 20 newtons. Upward force is, for example, here, this is 20 newtons. Okay, now this buoyant force, whatever is acting vertical upwards, let us say it is a 25 newtons. Then definitely net force will be acting upwards. How much? It is a 5 Newton only. As there will be a net force vertically upwards, obviously what will happen? Body will float. Obviously body will float. Okay. So here the important point is that if buoyant force is greater than that of the weight, then what will happen? Body will float, because there will be some net force vertically upwards. Now, case 2. Now, let us see case 2. If buoyant force is less than that of the weight of the body immersed, which means what here? Children, the downward force is 30 Newton and upward force is 25 Newton, let us say. Then the net force will be downward direction, that to 5 Newton. So, as there will be a net force vertically downwards, then what will happen? Body will sink. body will sink. So in this case, I can say, okay, let me take out this. Body will sink. So there are the two important cases. Very, 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 very important. Very means very much important. Means here, body will float means. So like this, let us say, here is body will be floating. Okay. Here sink means completely it is inside. So don't forget that still two forces will be acting here on it. Buoyant force, here is weight. Here also buoyant force and weight. And where this weight is acting, where this buoyant force will be acting, that we'll discuss in next lecture. It's very, very important. Okay, na? It won't act at all points. That is the net force will be discussed. Okay, fine. And you may get to wonder what happens if for supposed if buoyant force is equal to the weight of the body, then what will be the net force, dear children? What will net force? Net force will be 0. Net force will be 0. This is the case of floating body. What is the weight of the floating body, children? The weight of the floating body will be 0. The weight of the floating body will be 0. But in this case, this is just floating. Just floating. Just floating. So in this case, how the body will be? For suppose here is a liquid. So almost look at here. This is a position. Means the surface of the solid coincides with the surface of the fluid in which it is immersed. Okay, children. So they are the three cases. Mainly, these two are very, very important. This we don't discuss actually, but these two are very, very important. What if buoyant force is greater than the weight of the body? Body will float. What if buoyant force is less than the weight, or weight of the body is greater than that of the buoyant force? What happens? Body will sink. Now children, we will see what is the reason for upthrust. Why upthrust is acting, that too in upward direction only. After that we will see how to calculate the buoyant force even. Reason for upthrust we will discuss. Reason for upthrust. So what is the reason for upthrust? After that we will see how to calculate the upthrust, and then we will discuss the factors on which upthrust depends. Children, here let us take, here is a beaker. Let us consider a beaker. Here is a liquid is taken, and let us say here is a body. Let us say here is a body placed here. It is A, B, C, D. Children, here look at here. It is a AB surface and it is a CD surface. On which surface more pressure due to the liquid exert? It's very important. Children, already we have learned in a pressure in fluid chapter that as a depth increases, obviously what happens? The pressure acting on the body also keeps on increasing. For suppose, dear children, due to this liquid on this body, let us say the pressure will be downward, that to P1. Whereas due to this liquid on this surface CD, the pressure acting is P2. And what about the pressure acting on this AC and BD, children? As we know that on a horizontal surface, the pressure acting will remain same. I mean, the pressure acting at this point and at this point will get nullified. The pressure means the net pressure acting on AC gets cancelled with the pressure acting on BD surface. Both are opposite. Equal and opposite, I mean to say. Because here you may get one doubt. Sir, here P1, P2 also opposite. Do they get cancelled? So here in the case of AC and BD, you can take any 2 points which are lying in the same horizontal surface. So the pressure will be equal and opposite direction. That's what they will get cancelled, I am saying. So there won't be any net pressure on sides on the walls of the body which is immersed in a liquid. But whereas it is not like that. AB and CD, of course, here pressure acting vertically downwards, here P2 pressure acting vertically upwards only. Both are opposite only. But do you think that both are in the same magnitude? Of course, no, it is not that. Because we know that pressure is directly proportional to H. Children, H is not a height. depth it is. It is depth. It is depth. So here this AB surface is at a less depth than that of the CD surface. Obviously, we know that P2 is greater than P1. P2 is greater than P1. As P2 is greater than P1, dear children, okay, now can we calculate the difference in pressure? For example, 10 Pascal is acting downwards, 30 Pascal is acting upwards. Can we calculate that difference, the net pressure acting on the body? We can. 30 minus 10, it will be 20 Pascal. Means here net pressure is P2 minus P1. Net pressure is P2 minus P1. And children, this surface area of this one is, let us say, it's a capital A. And here also it is a A only. And children, we know that, actually what is our intention, what we are trying to do, what we are trying to find, we are trying to find the reason for upthrust. That is what force. Means we need to calculate the net force acting on this body. If you want to calculate the net force acting on the body, we must know the net pressure and we must know the even area, that is surface area of the body. So we know that, children, pressure is equal to force per area. Force per area. So pressure is how much? The net pressure acting on this body is P2 minus P1. That is P2 minus P1 is equal to F by A. F by A. From this, can we calculate the force acting on this body? Obviously, we can calculate. That is F is equal to P2 minus P1 into A. So this is how actually we can calculate the force acting on this body when it is immersed, if you know the P1, P2 values and A value. And children, this force acting on this body only. So as this net pressure is acting vertical upwards, obviously that force also, net force also acting upward only. I mean, individually also, children, when you calculate the force acting on this AB surface and calculate the force acting on this CD surface, we will find that the force acting on the CD surface will be more than that of AB surface, that too vertical upwards. As I said that 10 Newton is acting, 30 Newton is acting. Then the net force will be 20 Newtons, that too vertical upwards only. Vertically upwards only. So this is a reason why actually force is acting vertically upwards when a body is immersed, might be partially or fully immersed in a fluid. So this is a reason for the upthrust. Now, dear children, how to calculate the buoyant force? Step by step, let us see, so that it will be very easy to us to understand. So here, calculating the buoyant force, step 1. So what we have to do is that, let us take a spring balance. Let us take, here is a spring balance. Here is spring balance. So with the help of spring balance, either you can take any rubber cork or any solid, any body. So try to suspend. I mean, first find the weight of the body with the help of spring balance when it is in air. So here we can find some reading, right? We can find some reading. Let us say some reading W1. Children, what is the W1? Weight of the solid when it is placed in air. So here we will get one value, no doubt about it. Now, step 2, same body with same spring balance, just keep it like that only. Here is this one, here is spring balance, and here is solid. Now, okay, this solid try to keep in a fluid, means try to immerse when it is placed in a fluid. Now, just as it is a solid, definitely when you place in a fluid, what will happen? It is immersed. Of course, depends on the densities. Okay. In general, what do we expect? We expect that the solid will be what we can say immersed in a fluid. Now, in this case, dear children, in this case, let us calculate W2. Try to understand, children. W1, W2 both are the weights of the bodies only, but difference is that W1 is the weight of the body when it is placed in air. Whereas W2 is the weight of the solid when it is placed in a liquid, let us say water. And children, as per our discussion of buoyant force, here as the body is immersed in a fluid, obviously what will happen? It experiences, yes, it must experience buoyant force. It must experience buoyant force. So, as the body is trying to immerse here and the buoyant force acting vertically upwards, means obviously the net force will be less. The net weight acting in the body will be less. Which means what we notice that obviously W2 will be less than W1. We notice. What do we notice? We notice W2 is less than W1. So what is the reason for this? Means when a body is immersed partially or wholly in a fluid equivalent, it means we feel that the weight of the body is decreasing. Means actually it won't decrease. It won't decrease. Children, the weight of the body when it is placed in air is called actually true weight. This W1 is true weight. Whatever the weight we get when the body is immersed in a fluid is called actually apparent weight. It is what actually is a apparent weight. That's fine. And it's clear that this apparent weight is less than that of the true weight. But how to calculate? What is the reason? For that we know the reason is the buoyant force. How to calculate the buoyant force, children? It's very simple. So buoyant force can be calculated as the true weight minus apparent weight over the true weight minus apparent weight. The true weight minus apparent weight. You can calculate like this. Means buoyant force is equal to true weight. True weight, how can we calculate it, children? When a place in a air minus apparent weight, children. Apparent weight. So from this we even calculate apparent weight, or else you can say like this: buoyant force plus W2, that is apparent weight, equal to true weight. True weight. When a true weight and a buoyant force is given, we can calculate even apparent weight also. How? Apparent weight is equal to buoyant force. Sorry, not buoyant force. Apparent weight is equal to true weight. So very important, children. True weight minus buoyant force. True weight minus buoyant force. Now children, we will see expression for upthrust. Children, now we will try to derive the expression for an upthrust, and even we will discuss the factors on which upthrust depends. Children, here is a beaker. Let us take here is a beaker in which a liquid is taken. Till here, let us say liquid is taken. So liquid, it might be water. It is not compulsory that water only we should take. Anything you can take. It is not that. Liquid is taken. The whose density is rho L. The density of the liquid which is taken is rho L. Now, in this liquid, let us consider a cylindrical object which is completely immersed. Look at here. So this is a cylindrical object which is completely immersed. Let us name it as A, B, C, D. A, B, C, D. In such a way that if you can see it, children, it is completely immersed and its surface area is, this is A. Surface area is A only. Surface area is A. And such a way that this upper part is at a depth H1. Upper part is at a depth H1, whereas the lower part is at a depth of H2. Try to understand. So here a cylindrical object of ABCD is completely immersed in a liquid of density rho L in such a way that the upper part of the solid is at a depth of H1, not Hi, it is H1, whereas the lower part CD is at a depth of H2. Now look at here. Now let us try to calculate the pressure acting on the surface AB. Children, already we know that the pressure at a point inside the liquid at a depth H is what? H rho G. This we know that very well. Children, this is a pressure exerted by the liquid column of depth H when it is immersed completely or in a liquid actually. Now same thing, let us apply for AB surface. In detail let us discuss so that it will be very easy to us understand. AB surface. Now let the pressure acting on AB surface due to this liquid column is P1. So children, it is P1. And we know that, so it is a pressure due to the liquid column is H rho g. But here rho is what actually? Density of the liquid here. Density of the liquid. G is acceleration due to gravity. But H is what? This depth. Okay, fine. So now let us take here H1 rho L G it is. H1 rho L G. Whereas dear children, now P1 is a pressure acting on surface AB. Then can we calculate the force acting on the surface AB? Yes, we can calculate. See children, we know that pressure is equal to force by area. So from this we can write force is equal to pressure into surface area. Surface area. So let the force acting on surface AB is F1. Then this will be P1 into A. So P1 is equal to, we know that H1 rho L G it is. Okay. So this will be H1 rho L G. And surface area is anyhow it is A only. So into A. So H1 is equal to H1 rho L G. Okay, H1 rho L, or else we can write like this. H1 A rho L G. Let it be equation 1. Now same thing, let us discuss for surface area what DC also, which is at a depth of H2, that you should not forget that. Okay, fine. Now it is for CD surface. Now same thing we are discussing for CD surface children. Now what is the pressure acting on this CD surface now? So children, by using same formula we can take, let it be P2 is equal to H2 rho L G. So children, H2 is a depth of the liquid, rho L is a density. Then let us calculate the force acting on the CD surface. That is F2 is equal to, it will be P2 into A. Now let us substitute the values. In the place of P2 let us write H2 rho L G. So that F2 is equal to H2 A rho L G. But dear children, here F1 is a thrust acting on AB, F2 is a thrust acting on CD. Now which one will be more? Which one is greater? Children, just you think whether F1 is greater or F2 is greater. Now let us try to observe here. See in this 2D children, for the two expressions, let us mathematically let us see here. Here A rho L G is common in both. Here also A rho L G is common here. Means both are same constants in for both F1 and F2. And here is a H1 and H2. And which one is greater? It's very clear that H2 is greater than that of the H1. So children, look at here. So very clear that, H2 is greater than that of H1. So can we say F2 is greater than F1? Obviously. As the H2 is greater than that of the H1, obviously, if you can substitute even values also children, we will get F2 means we will get a more, that is F2 is greater than that of the F1. And children, here you may get a one down. Sir, why are we discussing only thrust acting on upper surface, lower surface? Why not on AD? Why not on BC? Children, we know that the pressure on horizontal plane will remain same. For suppose you want to calculate, for example, let us take on horizontal surface. Here you want to calculate the pressure, here you want to calculate the pressure. So children, here let us say this pressure is Px and here the pressure acting is Py, let us suppose Py. And don't you think that these both are at the same depth, these 2 points? Yes, obviously. So means what here? Px is equal to Py. Px is equal to Py. As Px is equal to Py children, the force acting on this point will be equal to the force acting on this point. So both will be balanced. So there won't be any impact. So that is the reason we don't try to calculate. We don't try to calculate pressure and the thrust acting on AD and BC, though it is acting, because both are balanced from left side and the right side. Both will get balanced. As a depth, what we can say, as there is a difference in a depth on AB and CD, so that there is a difference in the pressure, so that there is a difference in the force acting. There is a difference in the thrust acting on AB and CD. So that is the reason why we only calculate the what we can say thrust acting on AB and CD. Okay, here is very clear that F2 is greater than F1. So children, here F1 will be acting downward direction, whereas F2 will be acting upward direction. And it's very clear that the net force will be always in the direction of force with a maximum magnitude. So here F2 is greater than F1, obviously the net force will be upward direction only. So how to calculate the net force here? Net force is equal to F2 minus F1. So this net force acting, net thrust, I can say that, the net thrust acting, because perpendicular to the surface, right? So that force we can call it as a thrust. So this net force, the net thrust acting on the body only, we can call it as upthrust or buoyant force. Upthrust or buoyant force, we can, anything is okay. So it is upthrust or buoyant force is equal to, how can we write, children, now? So F2 is equal to, here let us take these values, H2 A rho L G minus H1 A rho L G. So from this, children, here FB is equal to, can we take here A rho L J as a common? Of course we can take. So it is going to be H2 minus H1 into A rho L G, it is rho L G. But children, here H2 minus H into A, what is H2 minus H? H2 minus H is nothing but the height of this length, I can say that. It's the height or length of this solid which is immersed. And A is what? Its surface area. And children, here H2 minus H1 is equal to H only. Difference in height is always difference, right? That too, this one, this represent actually height. So, and we know that H2 minus H1 into A is nothing but the volume of the solid immersed. Volume of the solid immersed. Actually, in this case, as it is immersed completely, we will take a whole volume. If not, only we have to take the volume of the body immersed in it. Okay, fine. So this can be written as volume. So here, buoyant force is equal to volume of the solid submerged. Volume of the solid submerged into rho L G. So children, this is the final expression for upthrust. Final expression for upthrust, that is Vs rho L G. Children, again I am saying you, Vs is what here? Volume of the solid immersed. So every time it is not compulsory that full solid, that is a complete body is immersed. If it is immersed only half portion, then half of the volume must be taken here. If it is immersed 70%, that must be taken here. Anyhow, rho L is what? Density of the liquid in which solid is being immersed. And children, here one more very important thing is that, whenever a body is immersed in a liquid, obviously some amount of liquid is displaced. It's a very important. Some amount of liquid displaced. How much amount of water is displaced? It depends on the volume of the solid immersed. Children, here experimentally it is proved that volume of the body solid immersed, which is equal to the volume of the liquid displaced. Volume of the liquid displaced. This is very important, children. Volume of solid. So if it is immersed 50%, yes, that much percentage only what will happen? The liquid is displaced. It depends. So here equal amount, again I am telling you. So volume of the solid immersed in a liquid is equal to the volume of the liquid displaced. Volume of the solid immersed equal to the volume of the liquid displaced. This in detail we'll discuss in Archimedes principle. Okay, fine. So what can we write here? In the place of Vs, I can write Vl. Okay. So here Fb is equal to Vl rho L G. But children, we know that density is equal to mass by volume. From this, mass is equal to rho into V. So mass is equal to density into volume. So by using this, what can we write here? Volume of the liquid into density of the liquid, which is equal to the mass of the liquid. So this can be written as Fb is equal to mlg. So what is ml here? Mass of the liquid. G is acceleration due to gravity. And also children, we know that where I'll write here, W is equal to mg. W is equal to mg. So this can be written as Fb is equal to WL. Children, this is what actually very important conclusion. Which means what is children? Whenever a body is immersed in a liquid, it experiences an upward force. And it is said that that upward force is equal to the whatever the weight which is displaced, whatever the liquid which is displaced, so which is equal to that. So buoyant force experienced by this solid is equal to the weight of the liquid displaced by it. Okay. So children, this is what actually expression for upthrust. Children, just look at here. Here we consider the, first of all, we have taken a liquid of density rho L, in which a cylindrical solid A, B, C, D is submerged completely in such a way that means its surface area is A only, and AB surface at a depth of H1, CD surface at a depth of H2. And children, we know that expression to calculate the pressure at a point inside the liquid. According to that, we have calculated the pressure, initially pressure acting on AB surface. It will be H1 rho Lg. Why H1 here? Because the depth is H1. And as we calculate the pressure, we know that force is equal to pressure into area. So we calculate the force. Similarly, is calculated for CD surface also. Similarly calculated. So it is H2A rho Lg. Similarly, it is calculated for CD surface also. And here according to this children, here according to this conclusion 1 and conclusion 2, it's very clear that F2 is greater than F1. That's what, that net thrust will be vertically upwards. How much net thrust? This much. Rho A, Vs, rho L, G. And this even we also proved that the buoyant force is equal to the weight of the liquid displaced. Okay, so just you copy it. Now we will discuss the factors on which upthrust depends. So let us write here is factors. Factors depends on upthrust. Children, expression for upthrust is what? Let us recall. Fb is equal to V rho L, it is G. V rho L G. Children, here instead of writing V, what we do is that we write Vi. Don't forget that it is strictly volume of solid only. But why are we writing Vi? Because the volume of the body immersed. Because every time we cannot take a full volume, complete volume we should not take. We have to take the volume which is only submerged, which is immersed in that particular liquid. Okay, fine. Now children, let us see the first factor on which upthrust depends. It is. So for example, let us take here is container in which a liquid is taken. In this children, now let us take two bodies. Here is body A, let us say body A, and one more is body B. Means identical bodies actually. Both are identical bodies. Children, when two bodies are immersed like this, as shown in the figure, both are identical bodies. No doubt about it. Here, some upthrust will act. Let us say the upthrust acting on this body is F1, and the upthrust acting on this body is F2. F2. And it is clearly, we can understand, even clearly you can understand, and experimental also it has been proved that here the force, the upthrust acting on body B is greater than that of the body. What is the reason? Just try to look at here the immersed part, the volume of the immersed part, because density of the liquid is same for both, G value also same for both. Okay, now means here density of the liquid rho L and a G both are constants. As both are constant, children, here buoyant force acting on the body which is immersed is equal to the volume of the solid immersed. Volume of the solid. I mean what? More the body is immersed inside the liquid, so more upthrust will be there. Children, that also we can do what? Just you take a ball, first try to immerse little bit. You feel little bit what we can say bad force. As you go on immersing it completely to the depth, then what happens? You feel more upthrust, which means what? As the volume of the body which is immersed increases, the upthrust acting on the body also increases, provided density of the liquid must be constant. So this is the first factor on which it depends. Now children, let us take example 2. Let us take here one more example. Now it is the first factor. Now let us go for one more factor. One more factor. Here what we do is that now we will take two containers, two beakers with a different liquids. Here let us say here is water. Let us take in this, water is taken in this container. Water is taken. Whereas in this container, let us say for easy to understand, kerosene is taken. Kerosene is taken. And we know that there are the liquids with the different densities. There are liquids with different densities. And it's very clear. Okay, let us say rho W is the density of the water, whereas rho L is the density of the kerosene. Now children, in these two different liquids, let us say two identical bodies submerged completely, let us take, means both are submerged completely, both identical bodies. I mean its volume is V only, its volume is V only. So the submerged parts, both identical bodies, means immersed completely. So which means what? The volume of the immersed body is same in the case of water, in the case of kerosene. It's very clear. Let us say it's a body A, body B, body A and body B. Now children, look at here. As in this case here, this one. Let F1 in this case, let us say it's a F1 is a buoyant force acting on the body which is submerged in a water, whereas F2 is a buoyant force acting on the body which is submerged in a kerosene. And it is noticed that the children here, F1 is greater than F2. F1 is greater than F2. The reason is that the density of the liquid in which solid is submerged is important. I mean, when a solid is immersed in a liquid, if its density is more, obviously it experiences more upthrust. Whereas when a solid is immersed in a liquid whose density is less, then what happens? It experiences low upthrust. So since here density of the water is greater than the density of kerosene, it is not L, density of a kerosene. So which means what? More the density of the liquid, more the upthrust. Less the density of the liquid, less will be the upthrust. So we can conclude like this. Buoyant force is directly proportional to the density of the liquid. Provided density of the liquid and G values are constant. So here what we can say, so not density of the liquid, volume of the body immersed, G value must be constants. Children, look at here. So here buoyant force acting on a body is mainly depending on here volume of the body immersed. I mean more the volume, more the buoyant force, less the volume, less the buoyant force. Whereas it also depends on the density in which solid is immersed. If it is immersed in a density with a more dense, what we can say, if a solid is immersed in a liquid of more density, it experiences more upthrust. It experiences more upthrust. Examination point of view, these two are very, very important. These two are very, very important. So, in exam, if they'll ask you to write the factors and which upthrust depend, just explain about these two only. The third one is not needed. These two only. So, buoyant force acting on a body is what is directly proportional to the volume of the body immersed when liquid density constant. Whereas here, buoyant force acting on a body is directly proportional to the density of the liquid when volume of the immersed part remains constant. It depends on that actually. Okay, fine. Now children, let us see one or two application questions based on upthrust. How the questions will be asked, application questions, examination point of view. Examination point of view. Children, look at here. This is very, very, very important. Very means very much important. So let us take a two spheres. Two spheres. Let us take these two spheres I am taking. Its radius is capital R. Its radius is capital R. Let us say it is A, it is B. Both are submerged completely in a liquid. Obviously, same liquid only. And the thing is that children, body A is made up of with wood. Body A is made up of with wood. Whereas, body B is made up of with iron. Body A, that is a sphere, A is made up of with wood, sphere B is made up of with iron. Now here, let us say F1 is a upthrust acting on A, whereas F2 is a upthrust acting on B and B. Then which of the following is right? Means how F1 and F2 are related. I will give you 4 options. Just you have to think and comment your answer. Okay, option your answers are your options. Option A is F1 is greater than F2. B, F1 is less than F2. C, F1 is equal to F2. D, F1 is greater than or equal to F2. Children, here is 4 options. I repeat once again here. Two solid spheres. One is made up of with wood, another one is made up of with iron. Both are immersed completely in a same liquid. Then which experiences more upthrust? So children, here we have 4 options. Just you think carefully and comment your answer. So first one is F1 is greater than F2. That is, here wood will experience, sphere made up of the wood experience more upthrust than iron, or else iron experience more upthrust than wood, or F1 is greater than F2, or D1 is correct. Just you think, dear children, think about the factors, then obviously you will get it. Got it? Clear? Okay, let us discuss. So children, can I see that? Here option A is right. Yes or no? Generally, yes, many of we think option A is right, because we will imagine a situation where we can take an iron ball and where we take a ball made up of with wood. When both are immersed, obviously the sphere made up with wood will be coming upwards. So we think that yes, as it is coming upwards means we think that more upthrust acting on the sphere made up of with wood. But children, it is wrong. It is wrong. The correct option is here F1 is equal to F2 is a correct option. Why, sir? ऐसा कैसा हो गया? Why F1 is equal to F2 only? Look at here, children. Let us recall once again, children, here. Buoyant force, expression is what? Buoyant force is equal to VI rho L G. Am I right? Yes. Means buoyant force depends on here mainly G and rho L. See, look at here. As both are immersed in the same liquid, obviously density of the liquid is same only. Now think about the volume. In which case more volume of the body is immersed. Children, what is the volume of A? volume of A is 4 by 3 pi r cube only. Okay, volume of B is how much? 4 by 3 is pi r cube only, children, because same radius, very clearly it is mentioned, radius is same for both spheres. So in this case, dear children, here volume of the both bodies immersed same only, and both are immersed in a same liquid. So obviously both should experience same upthrust, that is F1 is equal to F2. In examination, if they'll ask you the ratio, you must write 1:1. You must write 1:1. So this is how actually we have to understand. Okay, fine. Now let us see one more. Children, let us take two cases. Let us take two cases. So here how the question is given, look at here. Let us say here is a river. Let us say here is a river, and here is sea water, river water and sea water, children. Now here first a person, let us say is like swimming in this one, and the same person even he is swimming in sea water also. So as a person is swimming, obviously he experiences some upthrust. Let F1 is the upthrust experienced by a person when he is swimming in a river water, whereas F2 is the upthrust experienced by the person, same person, children, same person I am telling, same person in the sea water. See, it's very, very important. Now which of the following is right? Just you think and let me know that. Yeah, come on, you think. Okay, children, now the situation is that same person is swimming once in a sea. Of course, at the same time it is not possible. Once just he is doing in a river water, in the sea water. In which case, in exam they may ask like this also. In which case he feels comfortable, more easier to swim also. Because if you know the reason, that you can tell in which case he feels more comfortable to swim. He won't feel that much tough. Very easy, very easy. He'll be enjoying the water like that. Just you think, children, which one is right? Just you think, comment your answer. Got it? Okay, fine. And don't compare these options. Don't say that, acha, here this option is changed little bit. Let us take this option as right answer. It is wrong, children. So just here you have to think here. Here difference is that sea water and river water. We know that, children, here density of the sea water is greater than that of the density of river water. This is very, very important. Otherwise, as I said, that same person is swimming, the volume of the body immersed is same. Volume of the body is immersed. See, children, as the volume of the body is immersed same, obviously what happens here, buoyant force, we know that directly proportional to the density of the liquid. Means if the density of the liquid is more, dear children, buoyant force will be more. If the density of the liquid is less, then the buoyant force will be less, provided volume of the body immersed is a constant. As in both cases the same person, obviously volume of the body is immersed same only. So here which means what? So in which case the density of the liquid is more, it's very clear that seawater density is more. So F2 must be greater. So here F2 must be greater means what? F1 is less. So this one. F1 is less than that of F2, or F2 is greater than that of F1. So as a buoyant force acting on a person when he is swimming, the seawater is more. He is lifted very easily. He won't be immersed. He will be lifted so that he feels more comfort to swim in a seawater. Achha, children, here one more question can be asked. Find the ratio of the weight of the liquid displaced. Weight of the liquid displaced. Children, here let us say when a person jumps in it, some amount of liquid will be displaced. Here also some amount of liquid will be displaced. In which case the weight of the liquid displaced will be more, children? Just you think, in which case it will more? It will be same. Why? Because in both cases the volume of the body is immersed same. So same amount of liquid will be displaced. As same amount of liquid is displaced, then obviously what will happen? The weight of the liquid displaced in both cases will be same. So children, this is how actually in exam application way the questions are asked. So if you are okay with the expression or else on factors on which buoyant force depends, then you can do it very easily on the questions given based on the upthrust. Okay, just you copy it. Then we will be discussing the very important Archimedes principle. Just copy it. Archimedes principle. Children, we can make it very simple. In a simple manner, we will discuss what actually Archimedes principle state. And children, and Archimedes principle, this concept we are going to use even mainly to calculate the relative density of solid. That we will discuss in the next class. Okay, fine. Look at here, children. So now step by step we will do. So what we have to do, step by step we will see, so that it's very easily to understand actually. Actually here, in Archimedes principle, children, what does it state? It states that when a body is immersed partially or wholly in a fluid, it experiences an upthrust which is equal to the weight of the liquid displaced by submerged part of it. So children, in depth if you can think, Archimedes principle we can make into two parts. So what are those two parts and how to understand, let us see here. Step 1, children. Step by step we will understand. Step 1. Look at here. So with the help of spring balance, in step 1 what we have to do is that with the help of a spring balance, children, let us try to find the weight of the solid where it is in air. Again I repeat. Now strictly when it is in air only. When it is in air. Let us say it is W1. So it will show some value, right? W1. Children, W1 is the weight of the solid in air. Means what we have to do, we are measuring the weight of the solid with the help of spring balance first. Then what we have to do is that in step 2, in a simple way, actually practically, in a lab, how can we prove the Archimedes principle? This is a method actually. Children, in this class, we will discuss the theory part of the Archimedes principle. In the next class, we will verify experimentally. Next session, we will be verifying the Archimedes principle experimentally. So this class is very important to understand next class. This theory class is very important to do the practical in the next class. In next class, we are going to do the practical. That is, we are going to prove the Archimedes principle experimentally. Okay, fine. Step 2, children. Now here is same thing, same arrangement setup, same spring balance here. Here is spring balance. It is. Now children, here is what we are doing is that let us take general, children, whenever now immerse it in a liquid. Immerse in a liquid. Children, whenever it is immersed in a liquid, obviously what happens? Come on, upthrust will come into play. You will try to lift it. So that what will happen? Compared with the virginal weight, when it is measured in air, the weight of this solid when it is placed in a fluid, obviously it will be less. Because of what? Buoyant force. But small change, what we do is that, children, instead of this normal beaker, we are going to take a, what will take? Like this. So these are arrangement setup which will be taken. Okay. So that there will be a spout. Okay. Fine. So now what happens, children? The moment, of course, just you think, there are I said two ways you have to think. The moment when a solid is immersed in a fluid, obviously it experiences a buoyant force due to which the weight will be less than W1. Let us say it is a W2. So what is the W1? Weight of the solid in air. W is what? Weight of the solid when it is immersed in a fluid. When immersed in a fluid. So especially here we have taken Eureka Canetes. Now dear children, the moment when the solid is immersed in this liquid, don't you think that some amount of water is displaced? Yes, of course. Of course, some water will be displaced. Let us, this is some water. That water which is displaced. Now children, okay, this is what actually is done. Now the thing is that, of course, it's very clear that W2 is less than that of the W1 just because of buoyant force. Then how can we calculate buoyant force? Already we discussed. Let us calculate. Okay, now calculations. Let us calculate first buoyant force or upthrust. Anything is okay. Buoyant force. We are calculating the buoyant force. Children, how can we calculate buoyant force? We know that buoyant force is equal to weight of the solid in air minus weight of the solid in water. You can get in terms of gram force. It's up to us. It is okay now. Whatever the units, we can calculate in newtons. It's not a matter here. We can. It's our wish. Okay. So here buoyant force we can calculate W1 minus W2. These are actually part 1. Part 1 of the Archimedes principle is that first we have to calculate the buoyant force. In part 2 is what? About what we have to think? Yes, let us think about the liquid displaced. It is children, liquid displaced by the submerged part of the solid because of the solid. Because of the solid is. Don't you think that it has some weight? Yes, take this water, measure its weight. Let us see it is a WL. WL is a weight of the solid, weight of the liquid displaced. Children, let me write here. What is a W1 here? W1 is a weight of solid in air. Weight of solid in air. What is W2 here? W is the weight of solid in fluid or a liquid in this case. Let us take. Whereas third WL weight of the liquid, children, it is weight of the liquid displaced. By whom? Displaced by the submerged part of the solid. Submerged part of the solid. For children here, let us say W1 we notice it as a 50 gram force. 50 gram force we noticed. And here W2 we recorded it as some 35 gram force. 35 gram force. Then how to calculate the buoyant force, children? How to calculate? Yes, by using this we can calculate the buoyant force. Let us calculate the buoyant force. How can we calculate? Buoyant force is equal to W1 is how much? 50 gram force. 50 minus W2 is how much? Weight of the solid when it is immersed in a fluid. That is nothing but apparent weight is 35. So just it is an example. It's not exactly. When we do experiment, we will come to that. It's just an example we have taken. So 50 minus 35. So it will be 15 gram force. 15 gram force. Fine. And it is other end, children. Here we have weight of the liquid also. When we can measure this, we will notice that it has a 15 gram force, surprisingly. Yes. Which means what, children? The buoyant force, okay, the buoyant force which is equal to the weight of the liquid displaced. This is a conclusion of Archimedes principle. This is what actually Archimedes principle statement. Actually, what does this Archimedes principle state? Children, here two parts are there. As I said that. One part, calculate the buoyant force. Another end, calculate the weight of the liquid. So, what we can see that it is a buoyant force which is equal to the weight of the liquid displaced. So, children, here, when a body is immersed partially or wholly, it experiences a buoyant force. At the same time, it displaces some water or a liquid. It has a weight. So, both are equal. Let me repeat once again, children. What is the Archimedes principle state? What does it state? Children, Archimedes principle states that when a body is immersed partially or wholly in a fluid, it experiences buoyant force which is equal to the weight of the liquid displaced by submerged part of it. So, this is what actually Archimedes principle. So, children, it is a theoretically we discuss. In the next class, we will see the experimental verification of Archimedes principle also we can see. Just you copy it. Now, children, let us discuss and based on the density of the solid and the density of liquid. So, when the body will sink, when the body will float. Okay, now already we discussed when the body will sink and when the body will float based on weight and buoyant force. Now, children, look at here. So, we know that here W is what, children? Weight of the solid, which is equal to mg. Right? So, mass can be written as volume into density. So, this also can be written as W is equal to V rho G. But don't forget that these all are solid. These all are solids. And the buoyant force is what, children? We got expression for Vi, that is V solid, rho density G. This is the buoyant force. Now children, let us see based on the density of the solid and based on the density of the liquid, when the body will sink, when the body will float, we will see. Let us take here is case 1. This is a last topic. It's a last topic in this session and in this unit also. Okay, fine. If case 1, if W is greater than buoyant force, so then this can be written as W is what here? Vs rho s G is greater than that of Vs rho L G. Now look at here. I mean, no need to cancel like that. Just for the sake of understanding, I am doing it. Let us not cancel it is. So here rho s is greater than the rho L, which means what, children? Whatever the body which we are going to keep in a liquid, if its density is greater than the density of the liquid, then what happens? For suppose, children, here we have taken a water. We have taken a water in which we are going to put a solid made up of with iron. With the iron, obviously, iron density is more than that of the density of the water. Then what will happen here? Body will sink. Body will sink. So if the density of the solid is greater than that of the density of the liquid, body will sink. Now children, let us do the case 2. Case 2. If weight of the solid is less than that of the buoyant force, similarly let us do the same way. Vs rho s G is less than Vs rho L G. So this can be seen as rho s is less than the rho L, which means what? If the density of the solid is less than that of the density of the liquid, then what happens? Look at here, children. So here is this one. Here is the liquid. Let us say again it is a water only taken. Let us take a thermocol is a solid we can take. Okay, we can take, and a piece of wood, we can take that. Definitely its density is less than that of the density of the water. Then what will happen? Body will be floating. Body will be floating means body will float. Body will float. Then children, what happens if weight of the solid is equal to the buoyant force? So it happens like this. It is Vs rho s G is equal to Vs rho L G. So this can be seen like this. So both are equal. Both are equal means what we'll have? It is, children, this is a just floating case. It is just floating case. Means what will happen? What will happen? Look at here. Means if almost same, the body is submerged like this, such a way that the surface of the liquid and the surface of the solid coincides. Both will be same. Like that means we cannot identify. Means more or less we can take a iceberg in a water. It's not exactly, because the density of the ice is almost near equal. We are near equal to the density of the liquid. So that much is not seen. Only little bit portion of iceberg only seen. Not much portion is completely it is hidden. Okay, na? Fine. But in general, floating case we can write like this. If weight of the solid is less than, or equal to buoyant force, or density of the solid is less than or equal to density of the liquid. These two will take as a floating case only. Common case will take. This we can take as a float. Of course, it might be just floating. Just we will take it as a float. So floating case. Okay, children. Fine. So this is how we have to understand. So children, so these are the topics in today's session. So let us recall what we have discussed, children. Beginning we discussed what actually upthrust is, and what are the units of upthrust, what is a buoyancy, and the reason for upthrust. It's very important. Reason for upthrust and the expression for upthrust, and even we discuss the on which factors even upthrust depends. Children, don't forget that depends on the main two factors: the volume of the solid immersed and the density of the liquid in which we are going to immerse the body. And finally, we discuss the Archimedes principle. Children, what does the Archimedes principle state? It states that when a body is immersed partially or wholly in a liquid or a fluid, it experiences an upward force, that is upthrust, which is equal to the weight of the liquid displaced. And so this is how we can even discuss or decide when the body will float or when the body will sink. Actually, next class, even we will be discussing the numericals based on these topics, no doubt about it. And as I said that we are going to do the practical also. We are going to verify the what we can say Archimedes principle in detail, clearly, practically we will learn again. Okay, children. Thank you so much. All the very best.